Good evening. It is Tuesday, May 26th, 2026, and I'd like to call the work session for the Tipp City Board of Education to order at 5:03 p.m. We're going to start this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance. Oops. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Stevens, would you call roll, please?
Mrs. McMurray?
Here.
Mrs. Dillard is absent at the moment. We do expect her later this evening. Mrs. Ernst?
Here.
Mrs. Plyman?
Here.
Mr. Thompson? Here. We do have a quorum and can continue the meeting.
Awesome, thank you. Next is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda for the work session?
I'll motion.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Plyman. Any discussion about the work session agenda? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Stevens, can you call the vote, please?
Thompson?
Yes.
Plyman?
Yes.
Ernst?
Yes.
McMurray?
Yes. Okay. That motion passes. First on the agenda for the discussion items is the, are we going to the career plan first?
Yeah, let's go to the career plan.
Okay. Since Cindy was on the review, the policy committee. Okay. So we're gonna go to B first, the career plan review. And you can see in public content is the career programming framework, and I'm going to yield to Mr. Moran to walk us through this.
So this is an overview. I think everybody's had a chance to look at it. It's the overview of a plan that we put in place beginning next school year. One of the things that our report card shows, but also that we need to improve on, is connecting students to the workforce. It's not just college. It's multiple areas of including career workforce that kids can go into to be successful in life, right? So one of the things that we did is just getting everybody to the table, using our counselors, using our administration, using our contracted services, and then reaching out to Miami County Jobs and Family Services to help out as well. Because they provide can possibly provide some unique support for our kids in order to help them with the career piece. And they've been great in looking at resources. So again, as you go through this, really the 7th grade, we start doing U Science. We started doing U Science a couple years ago, but now we're really putting a plan in place that will follow them along, tie them to give them opportunities and awareness of what's going on. Obviously, most 7th graders may not know what they're going to be doing when they graduate, but at least gives them an awareness of what jobs and possibilities out there. Same thing in the 8th grade. It's really, again, an awareness, expanded awareness, and getting them to understand about all the options that are out there for them. And again, college is definitely still an option for kids for careers, but not necessarily needed for everybody. Grade 9, we start really looking at developing a career portfolio, something that they can start putting together, so when in 4 years, when they graduate, they actually will have something tangible to bring with them to see their progress and what they've done. 10th grade, again, they go through the U Science, assessment. And I should have said this before. So the U Science assessment, it's not just interest survey, it's also an aptitude survey. So that means, some kids, I want to do this, but their test scores, their assessment says, well, you might be good at this too. You need to look at these, ideally combine your interest and your aptitude together to consider those things. And then the next year, there should be a parent portal open, so the parents will actually be able to have that as well. And then really in the 11th, and starting in the 10th grade, really start looking at embedding some career fair and mock interviews with these students to get them prepared for their first job, to be prepared to take advantage of some of those opportunities. And that could be, really looking at the 11th and 12th graders doing some type of internship. We think that would be valuable to know, get the experience before they go somewhere for college even. Just some opportunities, hands-on learning that some kids really crave. Not every kid will be able to get into the CTC, but this might be another option for them to learn some skills in the field they want. An idea would be they would leave here, and we have, right now, so the career, or CCESS, who's the partner with it, we've placed some people in some internships. They have some this summer going in and do some internships, and they met with some students and actually have opened up some kids' thinking in regards to what opportunities may be. They thought, well, I'm just going to do this because that's what so-and-so does, but when they looked at their interest and aptitude, they made some connections with some local businesses that I think will open up some opportunities for us as well, because I think our kids are going to do great things when they go when we're at the business. So then in the 12th grade, we were looking at doing a exit interview with them that they could help refine and help us build the program to meet the students' needs. And obviously, as things are changing in this world on a daily basis, we think it'd be good to get that feedback from them. But we really want them to walk out of here with a plan, a direction that they want to take. Now, again, whatever option that is, we want to help make sure that we're supporting that to be there. So really, this is kind of the first time that we've had something like this. We've kind of dabbled in a couple things, but getting a 7-12 piece is pretty important. And then I'll talk about JFS. So JFS, for students that are maybe have some needs, there's actually grant dollars through JFS that they can help train them. They get like $14,000 per student if they qualify. That can help for their training. That can help for their advancement in certifications, possibly even. So those are the things where JFS provides a funding flow. And one of the things that we're going to have to look at, how do we overcome this, is going to be transportation. How can we help with transportation of our students to these, because not everybody has a vehicle. Not everybody has a way to get there. But that's something that maybe that JFS and through us that we can actually help with that. But that's kind of the direction we're going and implementing for next year. Some things are already in place, but really puts a solid framework to everything. So, what questions might anybody have?
Remind me what JFS is.
Jobs and Family Services, Miami County Jobs and Family Services.
Each county has one.
Yep.
And did I hear you correctly, the funding would be available only for those kids who would need some sort of assistance, or?
That's a piece through Miami County Jobs and Family Services.
Mhm.
There's other things such as tech cred, and some, not it's not called tech cred, but it's internship dollars that can be funded depending on what the job is. It could be reimbursement of the 75% of the cost of an intern that we can work through the various entities to get that. Those are the grant dollars available to people right now, and we're actually using it with one of the ladies who did our students who did a really great job with Tipp Chamber of Commerce, and has really kind of opened up some opportunities for herself in that way. So, yeah,
Okay.
there's just some things like that these entities can help connect those two, so it's less of a burden, and really trying to open up some opportunities, and we've started to. It's been, say, slow going. Businesses are trying to make that connection is one of those pieces that we need to overcome. I think we've made some strides, but we got more strides to make.
There's some updates happening with the state as well. Obviously, the work-based learning initiative that was passed has a specific number of hours that each student has, which is very a lofty goal for students to have prior to graduation. Everybody, there's some terminology, I think, that everybody takes in a little willy-nilly with it, so to speak, is internship, apprenticeship, job shadow, work-based learning. What someone might think of as an internship someplace might be something completely different over here. And I think that it's really important that however this rolls out, that needs to be very clear, because most of the 400 clients that I work with don't do internships, even though the state has said they can at 16 and older. Most of the clients that I have don't do internships unless they are at least 18, unless they've had some sort of preliminary training, and that they might want to stay there because it costs about $40,000 to $60,000 per person that they bring on those first 6 months of employment. And so it makes it very, and the proprietary nature of what's happening in some of the companies that I work with, which are located in this region. And so I think that we have to keep, everybody wants an internship. Everybody wants a paid internship. And you've got high school students competing for a paid internship with college students who want a paid internship. And to be perfectly honest, there just isn't enough out there. And so I think that we need to make sure that the verbiage and the language that's being used in this is appropriate. So maybe it's not an internship, but maybe it's an opportunity, and people don't like job shadow because they're just standing there, but maybe it's an opportunity for, we call it something different, I don't know, but that fine in between there of apprentice, intern, job shadow, a couple of times. How many, one per year, it could be during the year, during the summer. But I think we just need to watch the verbiage, because I've seen other school districts that have adopted this, and they've really pigeonholed themselves into, because of what then gets adopted by policy, they've pigeonholed themselves and these students into, you have to have 50 hours of internship before you graduate, and that's just not realistic for most of these kids, and the companies would be inundated and they can't handle that either. I'll shut up in just a minute. I'm just going through my list. So that was the one thing. The portal, I'm really happy about that. I know when my freshman took it in 7th grade, I had no idea. So I think the parent portal is great. I also would just encourage more parent communication, whether that is a community-wide, conversation, to have parents be able to come in and just walk them through what youth science looks like, and what then they can go home and do with their kiddos at home, because I think it's really important that they're on the same page, because, I don't know how many parents out there, but I get, what did you do today? Nothing. What did you eat today? Nothing. So this is not nothing, and I think it's important just to keep the parents in the loop. Do you know how they would choose like the lunch and learns? And I think that's important too, to make sure that they're not like the same thing every year, that they're spread out. So, is that through, will you guys utilize some of the
So-
CCESS people?
CCS, but
Okay.
also Job and Family Service
Okay.
would help that. So
Cool.
even at the our middle school, Mrs. Eichenauer does a pretty nice job.
Yeah.
Again,
Oh, yeah.
Who are those people? Getting those students who
Yeah.
have an interest in that,
Cool.
looking at their youth science, that would be an interest and aptitude for them to
Yeah.
get them to go to that visit. And she takes, 15, 20 kids. I've seen
Yeah.
different pictures of those kids going to various jobs, and at least trying to get more students where it's actively engagement versus just coming in to, hey, set up a
Table.
table
Yeah.
outside the lunchroom or something.
Yeah.
We want to do a more
Good.
of an intentional piece of that.
And I think with the military as well. I think
Yeah.
that, again, I've said this before, I've learned a lot, and I'm sure these ladies can attest as well, that, again, just setting up a table and giving out swag at lunch. I think there's a lot more to be said when you have an opportunity to have deeper conversations. And our numbers of students who are enlisting in the military upon graduation continue to rise. So I think we need to make sure that we're covering that as well. So I will be quiet now. Mrs. Plyman?
Oh, you're good. I had a couple that popped up while you were talking, so thank you for that. So is their ability to work with the lunch and learn strictly tied to their aptitude, or if there's something maybe that they're not as inclined toward, but they're very interested in? Would they, if there were spaces open, would they?
Yes, I think, again, it's interest and aptitude. It could be letting them know these things are available and
Okay.
trying to recruit them into that targeted versus just leaving it wide open. We want to be more intentional about those things.
Okay. And then On pages 2 and 3, it says TBD. Is that just the structure's not worked out, I'm assuming?
Correct.
Okay.
The career portfolio, so like in the 9th grade, we think there's a thing on School Links that we already have that we can then put in so everybody has access to that. But that's still being finalized on that. And resume, professional skill development, sometimes they do that in English class, but we're wondering where can it go in there on some things for the 10th grade. There's some things happening with, if we can do some things with advisory time at the high school, where those things could be targeted to, hey, we're meeting with all these kids talking about these types of things for next year. We think we could build that in where JFS, CSS, and quite frankly, why not have HR people come in to talk about HR things such as resumes and things like that. Those are all pieces of that to be determined when that's going to happen, but that is something that will be happening for the 10th grade, is doing that, those pieces.
And then the exit interviews for the CCESS and the JFS, those are not analyzing the students, that's analyzing the program, am I
Yes.
understanding that? Okay.
Yeah. The idea would be, and they would talk to the kids, do they have the plan, do they have the idea, what could have been more helpful, what would have been something they liked, things like that too. And actually review what they've done for 4 years, in a few years, but what have they done that tied to what they want to do? So just getting some feedback for the program, we're not judging the kids in any form or fashion.
Okay, and then on 1, 3, 4, and 5, it says about like the JFS and CCESS are gonna be in charge of career fairs and things. Do we have an MOU that's board approved already on file for both these organizations, or?
So CSS, yes. JFS
Not yet.
is something that, they not work with everybody.
Okay.
They're a county agency, obviously, that works with us. They're the ones that they wanted to take that, because they have the connections already. JFS does some things in various places already in the county, so they thought they'd be easier for them to reach out to do those things, to get the people into that, which would help alleviate some things on the counselor's role.
Will we be required to have an MOU even though they're a countywide?
I don't think so. It's something I could look into.
If you could,
but
just-
because just like any other county agency we work with, we don't share information. Like when they've talked to the kids, but they talk to the parents before they can talk to the kids type of thing, just to provide opportunities if they might qualify for services.
I guess I'm just concerned that if a lot of other schools start to utilize them, they're gonna get overstretched, and then we're going to kind of get deprioritized, so.
They're
And-
already overstretched.
Right.
Well, I think their JFS, I would say, has been very, I'd say very energetic and
They're
happy
awesome.
about coming to help with us
Okay.
and seeing it as a target that they can actually be in the schools to work with kids that's who they want to help out with too. And they work with kids, the training money, I think, is from 14 to 24. So there's a lot of opportunities. Even if they don't take advantage of now, there may be something after high school that they have a connection with
Okay.
for that. So I'll follow up on that.
I guess one more question about, not necessarily MOU, but just staffing this. So, will this require, increased funding for ESS for the hours that they'll be spending in the school?
No.
And, would that then require additional counselor time? Like, how will this be implemented?
They would work alongside counseling, not
Okay.
replace counseling.
So how will this be, so, you know, my child did the U Science, but she didn't get to finish it because she didn't have enough time. There wasn't enough time carved out for it. And I believe that she did it in 7th grade as well, so this is twice now. So how, how will this be implemented such that there's enough time that can be dedicated to this type of programming, which is really important?
One, I'd have to learn a little bit more about that, but we had kids that I know at the high school actually pulled kids down to finish stuff.
Mhm.
So there could be time there with those things. I mean, I don't know if it needs to be, I think it can be done outside of school as well. I don't know if it has to be done in school. I'd have to check on that. But that's something we want to make sure that all kids are finished with there, and
Right.
give them the time. The time may not be during that allotted time, but they'd have other opportunities to finish it up
Okay.
for completion.
And in some of these other activities, would these be teachers doing these as part of their curricula? Like how will it be implemented?
Like which specifics?
Well, I mean, like some of this, you know, like creating a career portfolio.
So that's something that really would look at, like I said, being done during advisory time with lead counselors and the JFS, CCES, working with kids to help make that happen. During that, that's the advisory time I was talking about.
How
They're
much
trying to,
advisory time did they get?
they're getting, they're trying to, and it looks like, again, we've got some construction going over that,
Right.
the furniture delivery that we need to get done. But it could be like every day, 20 minutes, and it could be an ongoing, if we want, Mrs. Weaver is looking to have an ongoing process where they're hitting with these kids, talking about these things in chunks versus, you know, one-shot deals.
So that's a modification to the school day?
That would, no, well, it's, so for example, right now you have 7 periods, right? Your fifth period, your fourth period, it's fifth period at the high school. That period, because we have 3 lunches, is longer than everybody else's
Okay.
by that. We're looking if we can go to 2 lunches because of space and with reconfiguration of tables and things like that, that frees up that time that we could put towards that. So nothing, the classes don't get shortchanged. It's just, it's not extended. We don't have any split classes any
Okay.
longer. So that, we want to use that for counseling time, for career time, that they could be dealing with things versus trying to do some one-shot deals.
Okay.
So it doesn't change start and end time, it just repurposes that time a little bit.
Okay. And right now, they just have one class that's a little bit longer than the others.
Yes, they have that one, because that's 3 30-minute classes that you have to fit the 3 lunches in,
Okay.
yes.
My last year in the classroom, we had it was called Trojan time. It was 20 minutes every day, and you could it's when they had club
There could be
advising
some of that, yeah.
time. They had stuff like this. We had some that they would do a pep assembly then, because then it wouldn't have to hit into the others. We did mental health stuff.
Yes.
So
A lot of
all
those
kinds
things
of,
would be-
yeah,
Could be targeted and give the time versus taking it out of
yeah.
scheduling times could be done during that time specific versus going into your English class or other class with that. Now, there are some pieces in here, especially with the science for next year, where we want those businesses to come in to help with the real world connection of how things are done for the delivery. Again, trying to bridge that, why do I need this? Or here's how these people use it. Here's how I use it, and help them deliver a lesson, not just talk about their company, but talk about what they use that information for. Yeah.
I could see, and again, not my decision, but I could see after testing, since we have time after state testing, some of this could be accomplished as well, finishing up for the year, prepping for the next year.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the schedule and stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
After state testing, you have AP testing and other things like that going on, but those are opportunities,
Something meaningful.
time-wise, that we can utilize the time as effective as possible. What
This
are-
is great. Where is, show up on time, put your phone down, talk to each other, not just through Snapchat, be able to make a phone call,
Yeah,
work as a team, that's in here, right?
it's all part of professional skills, yes.
Will these internships be coordinated such that students can still participate in extracurriculars?
And that's one thing that we're talking with the companies, we need them to be flexible too.
Yeah.
Because we do have kids that want it, and that's why it might be a summer, might be a better internship
For some students.
for some students, right? They may not be able to do it during the school day with their schedule. But we also know we have kids that maybe it's 2 days or 3 days a week during this time. So we're really working with companies to think differently. We had I had a conversation with a company a little while ago, and it's like, okay, I have some kids that might be able to do this, but could you take, based on their schedule, could they do it like alternating? So you'd have somebody there all the time, but it would kind of be alternating versus part-time, so to speak. It just works for their schedule that way. We need to help them think a little differently, seeing how that benefits them. Again, if it's a needed job and the tech, you know, with that, the work credit that they could do, it alleviates some of that, you know, fear of, well, am I wasting money? Well, get to know the kid, you know,
Right.
come into the classes, see
Right.
what our kids do, ask them, go through an interview process and make sure it's a good fit too. But I think there's there's opportunities out there. We're finding out with the ones that have done it, that they've really appreciated it.
Yeah.
And they're looking to do another one or expand it for even next year with some of the companies.
I know that Jack did the state recognized apprenticeship for EMT and fire, and he really enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. I know that there are other apprentice opportunities for the state, and the list is getting longer. Is that something like that they could
would
look
be
in?
part of
that?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, even we had a person with the Tipp fire. class
Yeah,
this year.
yeah,
So I think there's opportunities to just, again,
yeah.
and I would say, you know, it's not Chief Howler anymore, but he was like, yeah, you're still a student.
Yeah.
You still need to be in your after-school activities and things like that you want. It's not just, so they worked out a schedule that worked out for everybody, and that was, you know, beneficial to both parties.
Now, do these internships, or whatever
Yeah,
language we come
that's,
up with,
yeah.
do those count towards their course?
So we could
Credits?
look at credits, yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay.
Definitely, we could replace some credits.
That would be, that's the key, is if you're working in finances and you're interning with a CPA and you're doing math, like, that's gotta count for something. I don't know. Anyway,
Okay?
yep. Anything else? This is great. Again, there are a lot of schools across the state that are already doing this. I just, you know,
We
find
need to-
some, yeah, we need to catch up, so.
We started, but this is probably obviously this is the biggest, the most comprehensive plan that we put together. And with thoughtfulness and I think resources, because we had what do we want these kids to do, when's it appropriate, and really started looking at that piece, so.
Yeah. Anything else with it? Okay. Coming back to the AI policy review and implementation, you can see that the AI document is in public documents. So, Mr. Moran, do you want to get us started on how, where we are with that?
So we met in April, and then we met again in May to go over some stuff because we had to finalize things. We had shared some stuff, but the AI policy that was shared out, Ms. Ernst had some kind of rewrites of things. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a rewrite of things, but it's probably more of a reworking of things. And I'll have her share a copy, or I'll share it, but she can talk here in a second. We met in May after we had talked, and she had some communication with Mrs. Dillard as well about this. And my concern my concern with upending, or not, restructuring the, I should say upending, but restructuring the policy totally would be, you know, this is what Neola does. They are the people who do this. And the committee, we went through this process, and Mrs. Spine was there for be there for the first one. We went through this and made some changes, some additions to present going through this. And I appreciate Mrs. Ernst's thoughts on this. I just didn't want to present that to the group because we haven't had a discussion even on, as
The
a group
original one.
with that, much less, you know, taking that to Neola to find out, well, what does this do? Because when we start doing some things that are not connected, in my opinion, not necessarily gone through to make sure it's connecting everywhere, I think that's where we open things up when we go individual a lot. So with that said, you said you had brought some copies?
I do have
I can share those if you want.
I think before, just for clarification, what is in the public documents that we're seeing, that is the recommended policy from Neola.
With some tweaks.
With
that
some
we made-
tweaks
with
from
some tweaks
the
that we
front-
made,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And some little tweaks, we met, and after talking with Mrs. Ernst and sharing that with them, it's just, there's some minor wordage
Okay.
in that, but that's basically the policy, the guts of everything is the policy from Neola.
And Neola has looked back at this one?
No.
Not yet?
Not, we just,
Okay.
we took the guts, the guts of that and said, well, what do we want? They had options, obviously, that we could pick and choose, and that's kind of what we did.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
With some minor wording that,
Okay.
to me, didn't change the intent of anything.
There's
Okay.
one thing I think that didn't get changed as I was reading through, just before Katie, you jump in. On page 2, under stakeholder engagement, it interchanges the word committee and work group. So I didn't know if we had decided on which one of those we wanted to use.
It should just be committee, because that's what we're calling, that's what we started out, I believe, was we calling it a committee that's gonna make the recommendations for stuff, so that's,
There's just a couple instances of work group throughout that paragraph.
okay. Let me,
Committee.
so, okay, I see what you're saying. So just you're saying replace work group, where it says work group, just put committee.
Correct.
And I forget the district AI committee, or I think we had an AI district committee or something like that. I made those changes, but that I'll need to correct.
District AI Committee. Okay.
To committee for.
And so, just for clarification, again, this is very similar to what we had for the cell phone policy. The state gave us the template, and then they had kind of
Neola created
theirs from it.
recommendation.
And then we also had a couple of cafeteria type items that we could pull from that.
Yes, options. yeah.
Options that we could put in there. Okay, all right. But keeping what the state intention from the law.
Again, this is Neola's information from, they
Right.
used that model policy
Right.
and created
Okay.
this piece.
Okay.
Do you need this
Yes,
out?
yeah, thank you.
Oh, you need one?
I do need one,
Okay.
thank you. So the model policy addressed each of the items that the AI group at the state identified would be important. So it has a section on, so it's like they went down and they said, okay, the AI group said we need to have a section on data and privacy. We're gonna put our little section on data and privacy, and we need to have a section on AI. You know, they recommended having something about AI and literacy. And so it appeared that each little section had been written by their own committee. And so and also was written with implementation in mind. So some of these things are very specific, probably more specific than we would normally have in a policy for a board that would be extremely appropriate for a superintendent policy, which would be much more prescriptive about how to handle things. And so what my intention was, and with the copy that you have in hand, is to specifically on pages 3 and 4, when it comes to acceptable use, there are things that were sprinkled all throughout the document about acceptable use. And some of the things did not clarify if it was specifically for teachers or specifically for students. And so a lot of this is taking what was already there, grouping it together, and specifying who it applied to. So specifically now there's, in the paper section, the version that's in your hand, which is not in, which, is really me bringing a version to our discussion, has a section where it describes what all users, what is acceptable use for all users, no matter if you're a teacher, if you're a staff member, a certified staff, if you are classified staff, and then has an employee user section and has a student user section. And then how it has very specifically called out unacceptable uses of AI. So again, my intent was to pull together the things so that, to adopt this language, make it very clear about who different aspects of this applied to. That being said, the language is pulled from the NEOLA policy. And so, in the spirit of getting something on the books that we comply with the state requirement to have something in place by 1 July, I have no objection to adopting the one that we have, from NEOLA. As long as it's something, I believe that the policy specifically says that we would look at this in the future, because things are changing so quickly. And this is a very broad policy. This is a policy that's written largely to address the large language model issue, but it does not specify that it is only related to large language models. So anything that has AI, machine learning, anything like that could potentially fall under this policy. And I don't know that we want to do this level of comprehensive review for every single piece of AI that we have in our district, right? But probably some of the things in here relate very significantly to large language model products, but not necessarily to some of the other machine learning based products. So I think there's, it does a nice job of calling that out and saying this is going to be a policy that needs to be updated frequently.
So it's your opinion that the policy that's been suggested is more specific to just large language models and not other forms of artificial intelligence? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that it is written agnostic, so it does not specify that it is about machine learning or large language models. So it is agnostic to what kind of AI system it is in the background. And some of the practices are, much more important to implement for a large language model type of an AI system than they would be for, per se, like the machine learning model that is at the back end of Amplify, or some of these other AI systems that we have.
Okay. And so what's the concern from the district's end?
My concern is, one, getting the legislative group to review this, to make a recommendation, and two, making sure that Neola understands that and it meets everything it needs to be. Because we are kind of doing a one-off, and when we went through the whole thing a year and a half ago, Cindy, when we went through all the policies,
Yeah.
we had a lot, I shouldn't say, I don't know if lot's the right word, but there was quite a few instances, why is that in there? Because the district had changed things, but nobody knew why did we make those changes? What was the reasoning behind those things? So when you individualize everything so much, you may not know why you lose that consistency, because Neola can tell you why. This is why we put it in there, this is the reasons why. You chose not to do that, I can't help you out. I don't know why community didn't recommend that. So then it becomes, well, what were they trying to figure out that, you know, institutional knowledge is right? Because again, every board, you know, the board changes, we've seen, you know, we had 2 new people, we've had 4 new people, we've had all kinds of different pieces there. So the consistency piece is something that I think is important to at least be considered and understand why. Why do we make this change? Because you should be, we'll go through these policies every 4 or 5 years, or excuse me, 5 to 7 years to make sure we're aligned with everything. Why do we choose this?
Katie, can you just explain a little bit more? Do you mean you pulled from different areas within the written policy and kind of just consolidated them into sections? Correct. So you didn't really add to it, it's just more. And then this isn't meant to be comprehensive, so it's just sections that should be added to.
No, this is comprehensive, this is the whole, so this is the whole document.
Yeah. I'd say it's a rewording of what's in here currently.
It's a reorganization, so for instance, if you look at the, AI literacy section, there were some words elsewhere in the document that says something about providing training to employees. And so that is AI literacy. And so I put it in the AI literacy section.
I guess specifically, I'm noticing the ethical use of AI. I'm not seeing it in your document, or am I just missing it?
This is, can I?
Yes, please.
I don't mean to interrupt.
No,
So
please.
Katie and I spent a lot of time on the phone together, and I shared the information with Aaron. Aaron and I both talked about that when you use Neola as your consultant, there's a consistency across districts, and they've done the legal research behind it, and they have a purpose for every area within the document to support legally Ohio Revised Code. And sometimes it seems it doesn't flow as well. Like the way that Katie organized her document seemed like it made a little more sense where things went on certain things, and then the Neola document also made sense to me because it's a standard policy. The thing about Neola is that they're writing policy for many districts, and so that gives us a greater protection as well, because this is the recommended policy that's being written for many districts. Many districts have similar policies. And so we just want to make sure that we are protected, and with Neola behind us, we can change, I think, and we talked about this, that this policy is probably going to be a policy that we revisit every 6 months. AI is changing so quickly, everything about it, that we will probably, and I would imagine that the state is gonna come down with even more, just like they did with cell phones, you know, so. So I just wanted to chime in that Katie did share this information with me, and Aaron and I talked, we went through it, I made notes and shared everything with him. And we just felt pretty strongly about that when you go off the path and you start creating your own policies, it gets you kind of in the weeds. It can either be, what I always have said to Katie is that policy can either be, you don't want it to be too broad and you don't want it to be too specific. So that's just, and I apologize for being late, just a
You're
lot
fine.
of coordination
No,
today.
you're good.
So,
I think that's my biggest concern, is that obviously, you know, just like a contract, even if you move something around, what is the intended understanding? Whereas this policy, if this is how it's already been vetted legally, then, you know, it is what it is, you know, especially if we're looking at something that would need to be withheld, hopefully not, but legally or in the court of law or whatnot. So it just I understand flowing better, I get it, but sometimes if it's specific right there, there's no searching in that. Oh, is that what they meant? Is that, you know what I mean? And again, we've already talked, we're gonna have to go over this thing, multiple times. And the state changed their mind on cell phones. They went from, this is what you have to adopt, and 6 months later, they said, absolutely not. So, I mean, I think that there's still a lot of things that are coming down. I just wanna make sure, A, we have 2 months to get this into play, and then be able to work with that committee that you all kind of set up, to work with that committee to maybe take a deeper dive, to work with the administrative team and things like that. So that's just kind of where I get very nervous messing with legal documents.
There was one area that, reading through this, and I apologize for not being able to be there in May, that I had mentioned I would like some sort of parental consent and alternative accommodation, because if we're trying to preserve the educational core with utilizing AI to enhance that, say if the objective of the lesson is to research, but the student can demonstrate that they can research while opting out of that, to allow for accommodation just for conscious objection, religious objection. I have requested that be looked into, so I'd still like that to the legislative group to review what types of accommodations comply with the law and allow for that. So.
Is that something that would even have to be put in though? Because it's not, this wouldn't be prescriptive of like, this isn't saying that everybody has to engage in it.
And it says if a student has any questions about whether they are permitted to use the tools for a specific class assignment, they should ask their teacher. No assignment shall require the use of a tool that is not approved by the district. AI tools, so I think it would go, like, if you don't want to read a book, like the same thing, if you don't feel that book that has been approved curriculum is appropriate for your kiddo to read, then they have to provide an alternative option.
Is that in the policy as far as allowing them to opt out, or is that just an understood thing as far as the book?
Oh, that's in the policy.
That's not in this.
That's not in this
Not
policy.
in this policy,
Yeah.
I mean in district policy
Yeah.
as far as all.
Yeah.
Okay.
So your point being, if there's an assignment given specifically, and they have to use
They
AI
have to use
complete the
AI.
I don't necessarily even just mean the assignment. I mean, if the district approves a type of AI that they have questions as far as, and it's been happening in districts in the area that kind of been monitoring how it's been implemented, and just parents' comfort levels with it. So if there's a specific AI technology that the district approves and they say, I don't want my kid using that at all in anything, so it's not a reoccurring thing day to day for the teacher and the school and everything, but it's just they can say, I'm opting out of this technology specific for my child.
Do you know what's an example?
I can get you the name of it, and I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
announce
I think that would help definitely, is that specific example, because I don't see so much of kids not wanting to use it. I see them as wanting to use it, and that's what I feel that this document does, is regulating that. But, if there's a specific piece of curriculum that is utilizing AI that they don't want, that's part of the,
But if someone could point me in the
curricular
policy where it
policy.
allows opting out of, say, books, which was the
I
example.
would check out 2370.
yeah.
Thank you.
Is that something that would be more on the implementation side too? There would be
Yeah.
so I see this as being like the high level framework.
Right, and then you have to,
There is so much in
yeah.
this that is so detailed, because I think the state of Ohio wanted to make sure that they got all the important stuff in.
Yes.
And because of that, there's stuff that's very low level that I think should not necessarily normally go into a policy like this. Like, you will not put this kind of data in. It seems like an implementation practice, not
Because in the
at a board level necessarily, but I think they're trying to do right the first time and get as much as they can in so that kids are protected. And I completely agree with that sentiment.
No, in the draft that we had looked at, it did have a section that kind of had some opt-in language of is opting in or opting out type of language, and that was more of what I had wanted us to look into including. So it was actually in the initial drafting language.
Do you know what section it was under?
It wouldn't be in this one here, it would be in the copies that stuff kind of got crossed out.
Oh, okay.
But I can get that to you. Or I can get it to Mr. Moran to then disseminate to.
Well, in terms of, the policy, we need to try to have a first read tonight and get a policy approved.
Mm-hmm.
But we can also agree as a board that we want to revisit it very soon. I mean, we don't
Yeah.
have to make changes in it prior to a first read right now. If everyone tonight, if we can get to a point where we're all in agreement that this is going to get us through until school starts or something, until we can revisit it again and add a few of these components and look at other districts. I'm just throwing that out there. We need to have this done, and we have to have
Yeah.
a first read at a separate meeting from the final read.
Yep,
And it has to be done by
July 1st.
Yeah, so then the version that I edited and that I shared with you, that is, I think, one revision behind what is in here is a question. Is that a true statement, that the version that we have has more edits than the Neola version? This, that we have in front of us that was in the work session notes, is not the Neola version.
It's updated from our meetings
Okay.
and the two meetings that we've had, yes.
Okay. Cindy, do you prefer to have that one back version that is closest to the Neola version as the one that we have the first read on? Or do you prefer to have the one that's B3 that's in the work session notes?
The current one that's in the notes right now.
Well,
Which is not this one. This one is the clean copy. It has subheaders, so it would not be this one.
is this one yours?
Yes.
This was mine, which
Yeah.
is,
So, and, you know, I don't want to go over our whole
Yeah.
meeting, the 2 or 3 hours we
yeah,
spent on the
it's
phone.
the time on the phone.
So anyway, after I shared what you had sent me with Aaron, then he included a couple of the things, my understanding, is that right, Aaron?
Okay,
That you were very concerned about
yes,
adding, but we did not change the headers
okay,
of the language, because basically what you had done is just kind of reorganize things, but there were a couple pieces that were new. And it was my understanding that those were added in the copies he showed me, so. And for right now, I really do believe that we should keep it organized, because I was concerned as well, those major headings. I mean, we talked about that, the security and privacy, that they were kind of enveloped into other areas, and I kind of like that it's very clear cut, it's put there, this is the section on that, and this is, but I do like the way that you wrote yours. It's a little easier, to read, but I just think that for right now, being our first policy that the state wants us to have, that we should be in congruence with Neola and the state and other districts as well.
okay.
That's how I'm feeling right now, personally.
I agree.
But I am very open to revisiting this.
I don't think that that's an option. I mean, I think that we're gonna have to revisit this in 6 months to a year. I think it's gonna be,
But I mean, we can talk
So-
about that right now and say, I mean, this is a work session, we can say
Yeah.
we are going to revisit it. I mean,
July, so August. It wouldn't even go into implementation till the middle of August, so I think after the first of the year, we
So
take a look at
maybe we
it.
could revisit it with the fall update,
I think we could go over it,
Yeah,
I think that's
because
fine.
there'll be a fall update.
Yeah.
So maybe we can just kind of
Yeah.
revisit it then.
How does the process work with Neola? Do they take feedback about how the, on the policies?
Mhm.
Yeah,
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 so when we meet with their representative Norm, he comes in and sometimes we see things that shouldn't be there, we disagree with, and he'll take it back and
mhm,
find out more information or say, yeah, that's contradictory or something
Okay.
like that, so. But they have obviously a writer process to go
Mhm.
through, but he's open to meeting the needs of the district.
Okay,
and Dr. Burkhart, Norm Burkhart,
okay.
is a retired principal superintendent faculty from the University of Dayton in the admin program. I took 2 or 3 master's classes from him. So, and this is what he does, and that he's that communication back to them for us now. That's what he does, so.
And you know, you'd have, when you go to, when we have policy updates, you have those to look at as well in the draft piece as well, so they come out usually October and again in February.
So it is a reasonable time to provide input to them as to
Mhm.
the policy.
So I have revisit with the fall update. So if we are able to approve this document that's in there, it's the V3 doc, tonight, then we will, once it is approved, we will revisit with the fall update.
yeah.
Is that appropriate? Is that appropriate to say?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we were looking at
Oh, no, no, no.
2370, the
Oh,
education
yes,
options.
yes.
Under program.
Yeah,
So in any situation, it allows for
Yeah.
alternative
Yep.
means.
yep. Okay. What else about this?
We are working on to finalize some things, including our AI class at the high school to actually get college credit plus. Those things, working with the middle school and high school on how we use it and what tools we want to use. So we've already had conversations, and teachers are using Notebook LM, Gemini, which are within that Google atmosphere, so they don't use it for large language models. They don't use any of that information, so privacy is good in that. And just looking at some other options too, for Brisk and some other things that might add another level for things. But again, privacy is still a big piece. In the AI committee that's been meeting, we had met last week again, and I felt like the teachers really are finding ways that can be useful to them, but also more importantly for the students to get especially some of our writing, getting that timely feedback is something that a couple of our teachers have used on a or started working with a thing called Brisk, but also the Notebook LM that would provide that information right away to students, which again can help speed up the process, the writing process, and getting feedback. I just had this, I'll probably share this email from that Ethan Mollick in regards to that Mollick test that we talked about. He has a very, I think, thoughtful way about, again, not taking the easy way out. AI can't replace your thinking, and writing is one of those things. Not replacing your thinking on that is a primary piece that we have to, I think, make sure that we're, as educational institutions, that we are not undermining our kids with that. This cannot replace their thinking. It has to elevate thinking.
I also, if we go back to the workforce needs, we have to prepare them for it. So, I mean, it's being utilized everywhere. I use Grant GPT, I use Chat GPT. I was actually told by my boss that I have to learn Claude. And so I did a few hours trying to figure out what the difference between Claude and Chat GPT is and whatnot. And so I use it for data analytics to push out stuff pretty quickly. But then I have to go over it with a fine tooth comb because it definitely misinterprets things. So, but I think that's the key that the kids need to walk out the door with, is that can they recognize when it's not correct? And I mean, it's not gonna, you can't AI everything. I can't AI right now anything to mow my grass. So, I just, we have to know what's appropriate and what's not. I probably could. There's a Roomba thing out there that can do it, but yeah. Anyway, that's called my kid right now. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying, like, there are employers who are expecting, it says in the job description, are they able to utilize it appropriately? And so I think that we just need to make sure that's the focus too, is this.
AI literacy for all.
Correct. Is AIL being used in any way? Because I know that their services are reimbursable through tech
So our
tech
teachers are
cred.
getting tech cred. And
Yeah.
That's gonna get another one of those pieces that
Okay.
we need to utilize the resources to
Yeah.
help our kids the
Yeah.
best way possible.
If the state is willing to pay for it, then
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I ask a question here? I came in and I just kind of jumped in, so, this is yours, correct? Because it
Yes.
says KME on the bottom.
does, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She
I
handed
thought-
out her,
Okay.
her work on this to share
Okay.
and kind of explain.
I wanted to make sure, because I
Yeah.
thought you guys said that this wasn't hers, so
No.
I'm just kind of.
It's okay. All good.
I did get my water heater lit.
Yes. So what we're looking at is we're gonna table that, your version. We are focused on the version that is in,
Board minutes.
The board minutes.
docs.
sorry.
With some adjustments, the final version, making sure I change work group in that section.
Okay.
For consistency purposes, making sure that work groups is replaced by committee.
Okay. Does that need to be updated before
That'll be part of the second read.
read? Okay, okay. Just making sure. Any further discussion about the AI policy? I want to make sure everybody's comfortable with it for the first read.
As someone who's an expert, I appreciate you taking the time to really make sure it's useful to us and what we need.
Mhm.
So, and then you guys for working on the policy, and
Mhm.
appreciate you guys and the work you're doing on it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see more changes from the state sooner rather than later.
I think things are changing rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for them to pull the whole current section out of this and make it its own. Like, I think this is such a big policy.
Mm-hmm. You're not wrong.
Which
Yeah.
section?
The procurement and evaluation of AI tools,
Yeah.
I think that it's its own beast and it's gonna change really fast. And why change all the other
I
parts?
think they are actually talking about it because right now there's a whole thing through ODEW where it has to go through the rubric to be recognized as quality material. And I think that is being discussed. So hold that thought. We'll see it in 6 months.
So, and again, if anyone has suggestions, forward them to all three of us, Aaron, Lydia, and myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, we'll share those with Norm and when
Yep.
we look at it again.
Yeah. And when does the fall review start?
September, October.
Okay.
It's 90 days after or 60 days after the bills become into effect, and they go into effect right in July. Usually get signed at the end of June,
Mhm.
so the 30 days.
Okay.
And then it comes out afterwards, and then we start scheduling our meetings.
Okay. Thank you
So
for the
it's usually
clarification.
October.
Okay. Let's see. anything further for the good of the order that needs to be discussed or anything prior to adjournment? Very good. Okay. Without hearing anything, I'm going to motion that we adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And can you call the vote, please, sir?
McMurray,
Yes.
Wyman,
Yes?
Ernst,
Yes.
Dillard,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
And the work session for May 26th